I'm Christy Heaton.
And I'm Andrew Powers.
And we're going to be talking to you today about community education and open source geospatial technologies and about our great group called MapTime Seattle. To give you a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about, we'll do a year in review. So a year ago, MapTime was just getting started, and we're back here again. And now we've actually got something to talk about. So I will share with you what we've accomplished this past year. And we'll tell you about MapTime and how it's spread throughout the world and its global context. And we'll let you know where we're going, the great things we've got in store for 2016. And finally, how you can participate and join us, and we can all learn things together.
Cool. So before we answer this question, let's just do a quick poll in the audience. How many people in the room right now have made a map or want to make a map? Okay. How many people in the audience are passionate about learning or teaching new things? Excellent. I think we're all going to get along pretty well. So what is MapTime Seattle? We are a group based here in Seattle that runs free technology workshops that are focused on free and open source software, which we're going to talk more about in a little bit. And this is really kind of the key ingredient and the thing that sort of makes us unique, is that everything that we do is targeted at beginners. Everything that we do is designed for beginners and to be accessible to people who are interested in increasing their technical skills. I just remembered one question that I wanted to ask. How many people have been to a MapTime? All right, that's pretty good. Nice. But talk is cheap. We've been around for a year now. This time last year, we were at GIS Day, and we hadn't actually done anything. So what did we get done? Well, we grew from 3 to 309 members over the last year, which we're pretty pleased about. We hosted 10 workshops covering topics like Bash and GDAL, how to use an API, making web maps with D3, Leaflet, CartoDB. It's a good list, and a lot of the stuff that we've done is hosted on our website. We've also contributed to open data sets like OpenStreetMap, particularly in times of need. We mobilized our community around Nepal earthquake relief mapping and had like 40 people come out to map areas affected by the quake. We also do project nights, and we advocate for beginners wherever we go within the community. This is a photo from another open source geo event in Seattle last spring, and we were involved with the organization of that, and we were really serious about making sure that there was something for everyone, especially beginners, at that event.
So like Andrew stated, our group's focus is beginners and anyone else. You don't have to be a beginner, but we welcome people of all skill levels, and all you need is an interest in learning open source geospatial technology. We don't assume you have any skill set. We just strive to provide an engaging and supportive, encouraging environment for us all to learn things together. And in that same vein, we use free and open source software pretty much exclusively. We think no one should have to buy software in order to learn what we want to teach, and you should be able to take the software home with you. So all the software we use is free of charge. So what is this free and open source software we keep talking about? I actually didn't know when I was getting my master's in GIS. I didn't know what open source software was. But now I do. It's open in that it's free, as in it's free of charge. And it's open in that the source code is available for viewing, and users are encouraged to contribute in the form of bug fixes or added functionality, things like that. So some examples of open source geospatial tools are, we've got some icons up here. Another thing, if you saw my lightning talk earlier, I talked about OpenStreetMap data, and that's not a software, it's free and open source data. So not only do we use free and open source software, but also free and open source data. So fixing bugs, technology, implementing functionality sounds pretty hard, for me at least. So is FOSS for beginners? Well, we're a little biased, but we think the answer is yes. And it can be slightly more complicated, but that's part of the reason we exist, to kind of facilitate this for beginners. The practice and perception of open source is that it's created by experts for experts. But our goal is to make FOSS accessible for everyone through our community education.
So we volunteer our time to run this group, to write tutorials and that kind of thing. So we obviously think that it's relevant to the field of, the field of geography, the field of GIS, and we're going to tell you a little bit about why we believe that to be true. So Christy and I both come from an academic GIS background. We studied geography or GIS in school at some point, which isn't necessarily true of everyone. You know, not everybody is a geographer, not everybody takes a GIS class. So there, you know, in some ways, we're pretty unique in that we had sort of this grounding in GIS and a place to start from. But we got out into the professional world. You know, we left school. We lost access to software that we might have learned on. Like, I think we both used ArcGIS in school. But after we graduated, we no longer had access to that. And something that should probably be encouraging to everyone is that, like, especially our teachers, is that, you know, we didn't get out of school and like know everything. And very quickly we realized that we had to continue to learn and evolve to have relevant skills for the workplace or any type of project that we wanted to do. And that ultimately brought both of us to this group here in Seattle called Cascadia Users of Geospatial Open Source, which is an open source group that is really incredible, and we're really lucky to have that resource in Seattle. And as we've gotten more involved in this community, we've heard from people all around the country and really the world that, like, Kugos is one of the strongest FOSS communities for geo pretty much anywhere. But it's a more technical group. The group has a lot of experienced developers in it. And basically what we came to is that it wasn't that accessible for beginners. You know, there are a lot of assumptions made about what people know during presentations that can prove to be a barrier for people who don't have that same background. So we started a chapter of Map Time here in Seattle to help address and kind of balance out the community in that way, and have an avenue for people who are just starting out. But Map Time did not start in Seattle, and we are just one of many, which is actually a really cool thing. We have a local chapter here, but there are chapters all over the world, and it's pretty decentralized. Anybody can start a chapter or get involved, but we're really, as we're going to look at some pictures of different map times taking place elsewhere. And the really cool thing is that no matter where you are, those goals that we were talking about, like why MapTime exists, unites all those groups. It's a common thread that runs through all of them. So this is a photo of the MapTime Summit, which was held after State of the Map US last spring. So like MapTime is kind of, barnacle maybe has a negative connotation, but it's sort of like a passenger on these other groups, these existing groups, and I think that it injects those groups with some really great energy and conversations around what it means to be accessible to anyone that wants to contribute, which is pretty important for open source software because it's all based on contributions. Here we are in Berlin, just another day. There's DC. This is Philadelphia. I'm going to pause here really quickly because I think that the sentiment on the screen there is really cool. And it's something that connects all of us, which is that usually when you're starting something, you're like thinking about the finish line, you're thinking about what you don't know. And especially when you're doing like self-directed learning, it's really important to just like get started and not just take one step at a time and not be overly concerned with what you think that you should be doing or if there's a perfect way to do something, because there really isn't. Here we are in Milan, and here we are in Seattle. I haven't met a lot of the people that are involved with MapTime around the world, but I find it really comforting to know that they're out there and supporting their local communities. And the origins, I think MapTime's been around for like a couple years now, like 2 or 3 years. And it really started as a small group of people that wanted to learn together and didn't have a good avenue in their current community to do that. So they created a safe space, and it just spread like wildfire. Does anybody want to take a crack at how many chapters they think there are of MapTime? 50? All right, that's a pretty good guess. Anybody else? Ooh. You got a good, go above or below 50. You've got a pretty good shot. Yeah, in the world. 40? All right, give me one more. 210? Okay, that's a little high. But there are 80 chapters, so you're all on in the ballpark. Except for maybe 210. So like, how do we quantify like 80 chapters? Like each chapter is unique. They all have different levels of engagement. 50 of those chapters organize on meetup.com, which is just a platform for people to promote their events, get RSVPs, get the word out. Does anybody want to guess how many members all of those meetups have combined? 210. We got 210 over here. 211, 2,000, 1,500. Well, it's actually 8,669 as of this morning. Yeah, not even the ballpark. Still the same universe, but not the ballpark. Let's say that like 10% of all these people who have signed up for a MapTime have actually been to a MapTime event. That's still 800 people, which is a lot. But even so, like that, close to 10,000 people have expressed interest in learning about open maps. And they've expressed interest in being part of a community that really values like learning together and being open to beginners. So whether or not those people are active in MapTime or just aware that those ideals exist, I think we can't really quantify the impact that has, but I don't want to underestimate it either. And then, of course, MapTimes make cool projects. This is a project out of MapTime LA. They created this great map interface for all the GIS contacts in California, which is a resource for anybody who's trying to get data. This is another web map created by MapTime Minneapolis St. Paul that they made for the NACIS conference in the Twin Cities just a couple months ago. So some really great stuff.
The community aspect of MapTime is a pretty big deal because the more people we get, the stronger we get, and the more resources, the more we can help other people. So our support is for beginners in FOSS so that people who have an academic background like we do can expand on their arsenal of tools. Another thing we can do is help people who don't know how to fix bugs and such, give back to open source in different ways, such as contributing to OpenStreetMap, especially in times of need. So what do we have coming up this year? Lots of great stuff. We're working on a series of QGIS tutorials. QGIS is a desktop mapping application similar to ArcMap, but it's free and open source. And just like ArcMap, it's pretty complex. You can do a lot of different things with it, way more than you could ever cover in a 2-hour tutorial. So we're working on a series where we focus on individual things like working with raster data, geocoding, using the Python window, things like that. Our project nights so far have been really successful, so we're going to do a lot more of those. Not only are they a lot less work for the organizers, because there's not a set workshop we have to prepare, but people seem to really like them. They seem to have things in their own backlog that they want to work on, whether it's just downloading some software or reformatting something that they did at work that their boss won't give them time to do, go through a tutorial on your own, or just show up and kind of see what other people are doing and see where you can help out. We'll also be hoping to get more volunteer instructors because Andrew and I only know so much, and we know there's a big community of people who could help us teach workshops, so feel free to talk to us about that later. We'll also be building some reusable tutorials so that other MapTimes can take what we have and expand on it, and people can work on them on their own if they can't make it to a MapTime event.
So we'd love for you to get involved. We think that we make it pretty easy. Perhaps the easiest thing you can do is join our meetup group, which is just a way for us to communicate with you, let you know about events that we have planned, that kind of thing. You can volunteer to instruct. You can get in touch with us about hosting an event in your space. Like if you have a space that you want to bring the community into to work on projects or to learn about some specific technology, we'd love to hear from you. Space is an area where we can always use additional support. And probably the best thing that you can do, like all this stuff is good, but the best interactions that we see are actually like at MapTimes. Just MapTimers helping MapTimers on projects in the room, being supportive, helping debug even when they don't know the answer. Those are the really inspiring moments that I think we see. So, come and participate. Another really easy way to get involved is our next event, which is on December 2nd at King County GIS Center down in Pioneer Square. And we're going to do hand-drawn maps, which we haven't done before, but a lot of MapTimes have done. And it's going to be really fun, relaxed, and a good time. So thank you. Feel free to get in touch if you have questions or you want to get involved. And big thanks to UW for inviting us to speak today.
See you at MapTime.